Thank you, Mr. President. Rising for what will probably be my last time on the Senate floor. And I'm going to miss this place. I'm going to miss the institution of the Senate, the people, the work. I'm going to miss this incredible building. It's a pretty amazing place to come to work every day, the physical place and the place because of all of the people here. But there's actually a connection between this beautiful building and the work that we do. So the people that built this building, our predecessors, they made it grand on purpose, the marble and the wood, the high ceilings, to remind us of the significance of the work that we do, the impact, the significant impact that it has on the people that we represent. So I'll miss this place, but I know it's time to hang up my, as we would say in my other job, hang up my spikes. So I'll hang up my book of Reed's Rules or my microphone or my suit. I'm going to hang up my suit, Mr. President. That's what I'm going to hang up. But I know that an important part of leadership is knowing when it is time to step aside and make room for others to lead. And that time is now. And as I depart, Mr. President, I am most of all filled with a sense of gratitude. Gratitude to my family who have supported and inspired me. It's almost automatic to thank your family in these kinds of speeches, and it shouldn't be. The reason everybody does it is because we all know we can't be here without the support and sacrifice of our family. I'm deeply grateful to them. I have gratitude to the super smart and dedicated staff, or as Senator Wilson said yesterday, the wicked smart staff, which is very accurate. The caucus staff, the nonpartisan committee staff, the rostrum staff, our legislative assistants and session aides and interns, and I've had some great ones, including the team with me this year. I have so much gratitude, Mr. President, for my colleagues and for you. It's a unique collection of characters for sure, but everyone trying to do the best they can to serve their constituents. I have a special appreciation for the members of the Senate Democratic Caucus. 6 years ago, they expressed their trust in me to be the caucus leader and majority leader, and I've tried hard every day to earn that trust. And I'm so proud of what we've accomplished together. And as much as I'm proud of what we've accomplished, I'm proud of how we've accomplished it. We're more efficient, more effective, more diverse, more bipartisan, more transparent than any time in recent history. But that's not to say it's always smooth sailing. I sometimes have this idea in my head that our caucus and the Senate as a whole is like this symphony, just perfect harmony, and I'm just at the front directing it. The reality is, at least at times, is that we're more like an out-of-control stagecoach, barreling around a corner and just barely keeping ourselves on the road. When I reflect back on my 14 years in the legislature, my 6 years as leader, one of the times that really stands out to me was my first year as majority leader. It was the last day of session, and we were stuck. If it was a symphony, it was silent. If we were a stagecoach, we had gone over the cliff. The governor's staff had already drafted the special session proclamation because we were headed to special session. Secretary Bannister is nodding her head. And it was about 8:30, and we're just dead stuck. And a bunch of us are sitting in the caucus room. It wasn't a caucus meeting, it wasn't a leadership meeting. We had nothing to do because we were just stuck. And we started talking. And these super smart, capable senators, we all came up with a plan. And we sent out these emissaries throughout the Capitol to do the work of the legislature. And by 10:30 p.m., now, as you know, Mr. President, there's a midnight deadline, so 10:30 is a little on the late side, but by 10:30 we had freed the logjam with compromises and elbow grease and ingenuity. The budgets and about a dozen other bills started to flow, and we finished just seconds before midnight. So I certainly appreciated my hardworking caucus colleagues that night, as I do every day. I also greatly appreciate my colleagues across the aisle. We don't always agree, but I think people would be very surprised, people outside this place, with how often we do agree. And even when we don't agree, we almost always find a way to do it respectfully, and even sometimes with a bit of humor. I remember a few years ago when we were in the minority. Now, Mr. President, this may surprise you, but I occasionally had a point of order called on me. So this one bill I was speaking on, and I strayed a little too close to the line, and Senator Patton jumped up and called a point of order. And Senator Roach, who was the president pro tem presiding that day, just my luck, and she ruled for that point in favor of Senator Patton. And then she fined me 1 pound of seized marzipan candy, which I delivered the next day, and we all had a nice laugh. So even when we disagree, we can find a way to smile. But the fact is that Senator Patton and I have worked together many more times than we've worked against each other on behalf of Spokane, and that could be said for just about everyone on the other side of the aisle. I appreciate their collaboration. Lastly, but very importantly, I have gratitude to the people of Spokane for sending me here for 14 years to represent them. What an honor to represent my community. And I thank my constituents not just for their support, but also for their inspiration. So many bills that I prime sponsored were brought to me by constituents. My first big bill, my first year, was brought to me by constituents advocates for protecting the Spokane River. And I had no idea that it would be one of the biggest bills that I would pass in my time here. It would remove phosphorus from lawn fertilizer to prevent toxic algae blooms in waterways across the state, including the Spokane River. And then my last bill this year about hate crimes, brought to me by members of the Spokane community after acts of hate in Spokane. As you know, Mr. President, it's always all about Spokane. I think back, especially the last few days, been thinking back a lot to my first days here, my first year. When I came for my first day, I actually got here a day early, and I did the public tour. And the tour guide was great. She was surprised that I was getting sworn in the next day and on the public tour, but it was a great tour. Everybody should do that tour. And I reflect back on how excited and energized I was that day. And I feel just as excited and energized to be here now as I was that day, and that is just how I want to leave this place. So I'm going to miss all of you, miss you, Mr. President, and everybody here. I'm going to miss this place, but I know I'm leaving it in good hands. Thank you, Mr. President.
With the senator's permission, I believe he has members of his family in the wings. Would they please step forward and be recognized by the members of the Senate?